so we are able to get all of your questions answered in the chat, either now or later. So thank you for joining me today. You've got lots of other things you could be attending, so I'm glad you chose this one. So our session goals and outcomes, we have a couple of things we want to make sure we get done today. Why and how are these?
Can you bring me a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Why and how are these assessments valuable to give us insight into student thinking? What they look like and how to administer them, and where you can access these. These are all created for trimesters 1, 2, and 3. And they'll look a lot familiar. They're the things you're already doing, but I've been able to turn them into digital form so that VLA people can use them. And even if you're in the classroom, you can also use these. So let's start with the story. We're kindergarten after all. We always start with the story. Actually, I would read these stories to my older my students in 2nd, 3rd, and even 4th grade. But as I read, please ask yourself, how does this relate to, how does this story relate to assessments? Michelle, can you mute in case people have forgotten?
Yeah, I'm working on figuring out where sounds are coming from.
So here's our story, 7 Blind Mice by Ed Young. One day, 7 blind mice were surprised to find a strange something by their pond. What is it? They cried, and they all ran home. On Monday, Red Mouse went first to find out. It's a pillar, he said. Nobody believed him. Tuesday was Green Mouse's turn. It's a snake, he said. Yellow Mouse went next. It's a spear. He was the 3rd in turn. Purple Mouse went on the 4th day on Wednesday. It's a great cliff, he said. Next, we've got Orange Mouse going on a Friday. It's a fan, he cried. I felt it move. The next mouse was Blue Mouse. He went on Saturday, he said. It's nothing but a rope. But the others didn't agree. They began to argue. A snake, a rope, a fan, a cliff. White Mouse decided to go to the pond next. When she came upon the something, she ran up one side and down the other. She ran across the top and from end to end. Ah, said White Mouse, now I see the something is as sturdy as a pillar, supple as a snake, wide as a cliff, sharp as a spear, breezy as a fan, stringy as a rope, but altogether the something is. Use your nonverbal reactions in Zoom to show us what that you have a guess on what you think this is. An elephant. And when the other mice ran up one side and down the other across the something from end to end, they agreed. Now they saw it too. The mouse moral. Knowing in part may make a fine tale, but wisdom comes from seeing the whole. Remember, I asked that question, how does this story relate to assessments? Type your answer in the chat, but wait to hit send until after I count to 3. And then we're going to start to see everybody's responses appear like a waterfall. So this technique is called the waterfall chat. So I'm giving you a minute or to type in, how does this story relate to assessments? And at the count of 3, we're going to hit send and see all of your responses. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about looking at the big picture, at the whole child. Anything else you see in there, Michelle, that I didn't catch?
looks like the brunt of it. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we need multiple measures of how to see what our students can do. We need to make sure we're assessing different things and in different ways so that we get a complete picture of what students are able to do. We don't want to be like the first 6 mice. They only saw one part and they just made assumptions about the whole creature. We want to look at all parts of what kids know and get a complete idea of what they're thinking. So I really love this quote. Effective teachers know that a wrong answer might indicate unexpected thinking rather than a lack of understanding. Equally, a correct answer may be arrived at via faulty thinking. So I'm going to pause a minute to let that quote sink in because I think it's really important when we look at assessment that we remember this. Correct answers don't always tell us everything we need to know. They might mask misunderstanding, and incorrect answers actually might be more revealing about what a student is thinking. So take a minute and notice and wonder about these 2 samples of kindergarten work. What do you notice about what the students can do? What do you wonder? If you're comfortable talking to us, you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, type in the chat something that you notice or wonder. And you don't have to wait for a waterfall chat here. As soon as you have an idea, go ahead and type it in. So I'm seeing people talk about visual representations might assist the learner. One child did draw dots, another child just wrote numbers. So we might have somebody who's a visual learner. They can both show what is less. Okay. So both children seem to know which amount is less. Is one of them better at writing numbers? One of them actually has words, like this one is less. Could they have both guessed? It's possible, because it's a 1 in 2 chance of getting it right. Does B have a deeper understanding because that child drew dots? Or does that child still need that conceptual understanding and the numbers are not enough? Okay. So some people are wondering why a picture of the manipulatives wasn't included. Okay. Here is another sample that I'd like you to look at here, and please compare these 2 samples. What does each student know? What are you still wondering? Feel free to unmute yourself and share with the group. Otherwise, type in the chat what you can tell about what students know. So I'm seeing people type that they can compare quantities, they can represent them, conceptualizing numbers, Student A also talks about greater than and not just less than. In sample B, it looks like the child has a very specific way to compare those numbers. Looks like she lined up Kelly's amounts and Anna's amounts and made that one-to-one matching. And is talking about how many more, which is a little different than the other child only talked about what's more or what's less. Okay. So definitely, yes, both of them use drawings. I'm wondering, I don't know about you, but I was wondering, does student B have a deeper understanding because of the comparison of lining up the red dots and the black dots? Or is this child, copying something that the teacher might have done? Or maybe the child really does understand and this is the way he or she is showing it to us. So trimester assessments definitely helps us see progress over time. Those were different students that I showed you, but you can see a lot from trimester to trimester. It can definitely lessen barriers like language or motor skills so that you can better see students' strengths. Unlike in the upper grades where you can give a child an assessment and they can read it and do it all by themselves, you don't have that luxury in kindergarten. But you also have the benefit of really being able to hear their thinking. They're more willing to talk out loud and explain how they did it. And it gives you a lot of good information for planning next steps. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, oh, if that were my student, I know I would do next to kind of push him or her to the next level. And last of all, we get lots of good evidence about the standards of mathematical practice. Is a child persevering? Does the child see patterns? Is the child able to reason abstractly and quantitatively? Are they precise in their language and their description? So let's take a look at one student counting circles on the assessment.
Tap it or something?
No, you can tap it if you want to.
Oh, look at that. What? That's my first time. Oh. So here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So as you can see, that was his first time using this Jamboard. And he was able to move those, he wanted to move them to count the circles.
And just a quick,
Tap it or something?
No,
Go ahead.
you can tap it if
Sorry.
you want to.
no, go ahead.
Uh-huh.
I was going to
Go
say,
ahead,
just a
dear.
quick insert is that in the earlier explanation or the early representations, the one thing that was missing was we couldn't ask the student questions and we couldn't hear their explanation. That was why when looking at two samples, we didn't really know the difference, how much the student understands versus the student. And one of the challenges with virtual learning is how do we assess these little learners in a way that we can truly understand their thinking. And so as you can see here, this tool where we can watch them do it and have the verbal explanations gives us so much deeper insight and information into what they're thinking.
And then the same student is counting one more. So there's two parts to this: count the circles, tell how many there are, and then I remove the sticky note and ask how many more now.
Now, how many circles do you see?
Let me move it. And 9.
So it's pretty clear. He didn't have to count. He didn't have to recount. He counted on from 8 and 9. And you just hear that that pride. Oh, I did it.
Now how many circles do you
Okay, so this is another question. This is from the trimester 1. So one student is sorting shapes. You will see the shapes move. Jamboard allows me to share the screen, but also allows me to see what the child is doing in real time. So you'll see the shapes change colors as he moves them. So if I'm moving something, he can see it. If he's moving something, we'll both be able to see.
It worked.
Okay, good. Keep going. Put all the same ones in the same color.
Whoa, two, so many twos. I'm collecting 2 now. Two is some kind of city. And teal's done.
Okay.
Rectangle. Like I'm just covering this whole place up.
Yes.
Circles. Look at that. This one's Faraday. Look at that. Triangle. This is like a house.
Yes.
Like these two are crashing to each other.
I want you to count how many in the first box.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And
6.
how-
This one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Both of them have 6.
So precious. It was so fun to do these. And so, you know, so great to see him. This was the first time he'd ever used Jamboard. So it didn't take a lot for him to move the shapes. And, you know, so much I was able to observe, like he named them without me asking them. And just really getting to see how kids are thinking in real time. That's the beauty of being able to do this. It's going to do that every time, huh? Restart the video again. So in this one, we're asking child to identify shapes. As you listen, what do we learn from his incorrect answer that we don't learn from his correct answer? Because I realized I learned a lot more, I think, from what he got wrong than from what he got right.
And this shape here, that is blue. What's that called?
Square.
And this shape, that is red.
I don't know if it's a pentagon or a hexagon.
Okay. How can you tell the difference between a pentagon and a hexagon?
I think a hexagon has maybe 8 sides and a pentagon has 6 sides.
Okay, so how many sides does this shape have?
This shape has 6 sides.
So what do you think it's called?
I think it's called a pentagon.
So go ahead and type in the chat or unmute yourself. What did we learn from his correct answer what did we learn from his incorrect answer that we didn't learn from his correct answer? So definitely, yes, he knows how to count shape sides. He's got vocabulary, and he knows the attributes. He knows that the name of a shape is related to the number of sides it has. And one thing I didn't think to ask him, which I would do next time, is how, since he does know that shapes have names according to their sides, what would he say about the difference between a square and a rectangle, since they both have 4 sides? So that might be interesting to find out. I would love to ask him that question that I did not have, didn't think to ask him at the time.
And
Okay, so how does the video we just saw relate to this quote that we did earlier about correct answers and incorrect answers? I think people were typing earlier that he knows why shapes have their name, but maybe he just needed, his mistake might be he needs a different label, but he knows that that shape has 6 sides. So it might be this or it might be that. He understands attributes of shapes, but it's the label that is giving him trouble. So he's further along in the understanding than somebody who randomly names things but doesn't understand why shapes have certain names. So we talked about why and how they provide valuable insight. Let's take a look at what they look like now and how to administer them. I think earlier there was a question about, are we suggesting that you use Jamboard? This is available for you to use. And it's going to be, it's all done for trimester 1, 2, and 3. So you're set to go. But, you know, if you can, especially if you're face-to-face and you're going to do it the other way, you can. But I think you might find that there's some definitely benefits to doing it like this. Here's an example of one that this was the assessment after the child finished. I wrote myself some little notes on the Jamboard. So she counted, all of these shapes are 9. You'll notice it's color coded pink for that one because she got it actually wrong. She said it was 10 instead of 9. And something really interesting happened with the last one. I didn't even ask her how did she know it was 9? It was really cute. She said 9. I supertized 4 and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, you know, the language is definitely there that you're using in terms of supertizing and knowing, counting without having to touch every single one. So yay, kindergarten teachers, you guys are doing an awesome job. This is Jamboard. Again, this is the first page of it. You'll notice on the side here that there are icons to write, erase, select, add a sticky note, add a shape, a text box. The numbers up here at the top tell you what frame you're on. This is frame 1 of 16. So you can click on the down arrow to see multiple frames at a time. I included a link here for a Jamboard tutorial if you've never used it before and want to use it. This is the ability for me to see multiple frames at a time. I'm going to give you the link to this, but on the slide you'll be able to click here and get a copy of all of these assessments. First time I did this, I wasn't smart enough to make them different colors, so it was really confusing which one is trimester 1. I thought I was looking at 2 and I wasn't, but they're different colors. That helps me.
Quickly, there's a question about how to use Jamboard over Zoom. Is that information included in that tutorial link? Will that explain how to use it over Zoom?
It does a little bit. It does a little bit, but I'm offering office hours so that you can come to office hours and try it out. I'll be the student and you be the teacher, and then we can go through a practice session.
And yes, it's currently only for kindergarten, but I think we're open to anyone who wants to help tweak it to
yes.
TK or first grade.
Yes, if you want to help me, I will be happy to do this. Part of this started, I was thinking of doing this, and then Michelle reached out to me and said, hey, you know, I really would like something that does this. And so we were able to create this together. There's 2 ways you can share the Jamboard with your students. there was one time when we put the link on the Canvas site because your kids already go to that. And so they clicked on that in the middle of our Zoom session. The only thing I would caution with putting it on your site is you want to make it personalized with that child's name. So Alex will only click on the one that has his name. Jamboard will, because it's a Google document, it will make changes. And so if you do it with one child and then the next child comes on and clicks on that link, he will see everything that the first child did. And we don't want that. We want it to be an assessment. So we want it not to be interfered.
There are ways through Canvas to link it as an assignment. And if you link it as an assignment using the Google LTI, it will make a copy immediately when that child opens it. They click on make their own copy. And then you will be able to access it through your Google Drive under your assignments folder. And so you can see that way live what they're doing, and it's their own copy. And each child, as they click on the link from Canvas, will make their own copy. I can't explain all the ins and outs of the details of that right now, but it's, I know, available through a lot of the Canvas tutorials that are out there, or if you have access to any of the tech team, they can meet with you probably. Oh, look, here's Lana, just as we're talking about this. I'm sure Lana would be more than happy to meet with you and explain to you how to make that happen. Right, Lana, wherever you are. So yes, it's out there. Hello, Lana. We were just talking very quickly about how they can take the Jamboard, put it on their Canvas course as an assignment, and make it open up an individual copy for each child so that it doesn't mess up their master. So I very kindly offered your services to help people through how to do that.
Always email the EdTech email or at PowerUSD for any questions, so let us know.
Yes.
And then another way I did it when I was assessing one-on-one with the child is I put it in the Zoom chat, and the child clicked on that, and then I could see exactly what he or she was doing at the same time, and they could see if I was making any changes also.
And we will tell you, it is, she's about to show you where it is, how you can access it. So yes, everyone has access to this through Canvas, and she'll show you in a second. I see lots of questions about that. And unfortunately, no, we don't have ELA yet. I have a nice little pile of things over here next to me, hoping that at some point I can start making something of this similar. But if anyone else has resources toward making something about ELA similar, I think that would be super helpful.
So a couple of things to keep in mind when you are sharing this. Make sure the sharing settings allow edit. If kids only view it, they won't be able to manipulate and move those circles into the box to show you 6. I remind students to advance to the next page. When I shared my screen, I advanced to page 2, but the child has to do it also on their copy. I had a student who had trouble opening the document and moving items. So instead, I moved to the items, and I said, okay, the box, what number's in that box? And he said 6. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to move circles into the box and you tell me when to stop. And so that's another way to do it. If you have technical difficulties, you can still have the child direct you to what to do and get a lot of information that way. Again, we want to have a different Jamboard for each child so that they're not writing on top of each other's. And on the bottom, when you're doing link, make sure it says can edit. That's what it would look like. So where can you get these? So there's a couple of places. Elementary Math Central. If you go down to where those pictures are, there's a column that says assessment, go to progress reports, and then grade K. And you will get a copy of all of these Jamboards. It's also in virtual learning. You go to curriculum resources, choose grade K. You'll see underneath trimester standards, you've got trimester 1 Jamboard, trimester 2 Jamboard, trimester 3 Jamboard. Also the checklist that you already have probably, but it's just here. It's just included in there. And then the teacher directions, although most of the teacher directions are in the document itself. We purposefully did that so you wouldn't have to go back and forth between too many pieces of paper.
And it does align question to question, one to one, almost word to word with these, if you've been using these, and the teacher directions that go along with these. They're really just lockstep. Everything on here is what's on the Jamboard.
So insights into students' thinking is revealed by listening to their talk. Conversations with students can help us understand what they know and how they think. And back to that, the elephant. This is the elephant we want in the room. The one where we're looking at it from all different sides, understanding what kids know by looking at it from different angles. So we get a really complete picture of what they are able to do. Final thoughts. I've got a Google survey. Please, I'm going to put it in the chat in a minute. But if you fill this out, you could win a book, Mathematical Mindsets, and the this game, Tiny Polka Dot. Oh, if you don't already have it, it's so wonderful. There's lots of cards. You could play a total of 16 games with these cards. They're very sturdy, and they've got number words, dot cards. This one's really cool because it's different size dots and different arrangements, 10 frames. So one lucky winner will win one of those items if you enter our survey. And the link to the slides is also down here, bit.ly/PUSDK 1/29/21. So that's January 29th, 21. And you can click on these images and get a better idea of them. Also, I'm going to put these links in here for you. So thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to stick around for questions. And
if you want to take a minute right now to get on Canvas, find it, make sure you can access it. And if you have any questions on where to get it, where to find it, what it looks like. If you notice any typos, we'll fix those. Let us know. It's just us working on this together. So we definitely overlook things here and there. And feel free if there's a question that's not working for you, or you really like to ask it in a different way, or you want to phrase it differently for your kids because that relates to how you have presented your instruction and our vocabularies aren't in alignment. Make your own copy of it and you're free to tweak it and fit it to best your needs. Same thing for TK. You could probably take it and just minimize some of the things, take out some of the questions that don't relate. To bump it up to first grade is going to take a little more work, but you could probably pare down to make it TK appropriate without a whole lot of trouble.
And again,
Isn't giving access to 2 of the links.
which one are we having trouble with?
Alyssa says that
Is it-
must tap to edit.
I clicked on 2 of them and it said that I had to request access to the Jamboard links.
Okay.
Yes, same with me.
I will check that. I thought I checked that yesterday. Are you on a Google? Are you on a Poway?
I am, yes. And
Using-
it
okay.
allowed me, it gave me access to the Trimester 1 Kinder assessment,
Okay.
but 2 of them did not allow me to.
Okay. So 2 and 3, I will check that right now and I will
Thank
fix
you.
those. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
But
Edit
yes,
to share with students.
TK and first grade, if anybody wants to help me, I will definitely be able to, we can work together. And try to make this happen. Because I wanna make it happen for you, just like I was able to do for kindergarten, but I just need some help tweaking what I think might work and what you know will work in your classroom. That back and forth really makes our made this so much better without Michelle's
Yeah.
help. And
When we did it together,
wouldn't have
she
worked.
gave me the foundational ones, and then I tweaked some wording and I added some different things based on what I've always done one-on-one in person with my kids to make it correlate as best. And then she would tweak some more and I would tweak some more, and we just went back and forth. So it helps to have 2 minds working on it at the same time.
So I think someone was talking about, what do you mean edit when you share with students? So let me go back to that in my, in the slide here. So when you're sharing anything anything Google, you want to, if you just share, people will be able to look at it, but they won't be able to make changes. So in the sharing settings, you have to choose, you can't edit, because otherwise children won't be able to move those, won't be able
If it's-
to move the circles.
Hopefully that's something that if Lana makes a little tutorial on how to
And-
share it, hopefully
and
she
I
would
can
include
make-
that. I'm sure she would.
And I can make one too. I can add that to what we're doing here.
And again, one of the biggest things though is to make sure that you don't let them change your original. Make sure you make your own copy or have them each make a copy that they can then edit. Because otherwise your own master, your own original will get moved around. But you'll want to make